Hi y'all, this is Mike Peasley from Tonehammer, wishing you a big giddy up from Texas. We're going to walk you through the new Requiem Pro, just some of the new features that this new offering has going for it. Some pretty powerful stuff this time around. We're going to cover 9 main points here, without the crappy accent. Let's start off with single voice legato, just one vowel, that's ah. Moving on to the 3-voice polyphonic legato. That's 3 independent voices at once with legato. Then we're going to move on to the sustains, just the e vowel with legato switched off. And then we're going to get into the marcato phrase builder and the staccato phrase builder. And that's a pretty powerful set of tools we'll get into a little later. And then we're going to get into the fast polyphonetic sustains with the full choir. And then the slow polyphonetic sustains with just the females. And then the slow polysustains with just the males. And then all 3 of those have legato functionality now, along with the soloist polyphonetic sustains, which have legato. So let's begin with the single voice legato, and you can see our beautiful new interface with our magical tome full of mystery and wonder and controls. So we have the speed controls for legato to begin with. That's slow, medium, fast, height, and off, and that controls the fade and blend time and overall speed of the legato transition, and then the volume of the legato transition, and then our polyphonic legato controls, legato range limit and positions, and I'll get into that later, and then the legacy range controls that allow you to limit which keys will trigger this instrument. And then we have the fine-tuning controls, swell, X-blend, Y-blend, and offset, and those I'll get into that later, but those all control different performance parameters, the adjustments for attack, release, and overall dynamic responsiveness, which we'll get into. And then you go to the next page, which is our help page, and we get into greater detail about each of the controls and the CC controls that are automatically mapped to them, and generally how to use each of the features in greater detail. And then this also corresponds to our README manual, so if you need more info, you can find it there. So let's have a little demonstration of the solo legato in the slow setting. That was the single voice legato. Let's move on to the polyphonic legato. And this system works by analyzing incoming notes and deciding which notes fall closest to any notes that are currently playing. If a new note's within the user-defined range limit of any currently playing note, using the leg limit control defined here, then it'll perform a legato transition from that note to the new note. If it falls outside the range, then it'll play as a new note without interrupting the currently playing note. And it can keep track of up to 3 independent chains at once. That was the polyphonic legato. Another thing to keep in mind is any notes that spill over the 3 chain limit will play as sustains, allowing you to play complex chords on top of your legato lines. If you just want to play chords or just sustains without legato transitions, then you just set the control to off, the speed control, and then you can just basically play chords with as many voices as you like. And that was the sustains by themselves without legato with intensity control on the swell knob. So let's move on now to the marcato phrase builder tool. And we have 16 words / syllables to choose from. Ar, cre, cru, do, fa, fis, glo, ki, mus, nis, nus, ri, sank, sin, son, and tus. And then the skip control, which basically just puts in a blank. And then you have the clear, which erases everything you've plugged in, and the back, which steps back a level. And basically you just click on the syllable you want to add in this slot from left to right. And you basically just set up a sequence. And obviously a skip puts in a blank, so when you play a note, you'd hear nothing. So let's hear... So it's a very easy to use step sequencer. As you play each new note, it just moves from left to right through the sequence you've created. Let's move on to staccato phrase builder. And we have 19 syllables here to choose from. Fis, glo, ki, la, mus, nis, nus, ri, ru, sank, sart, sin, son, tus, and then skip. And then clear and back is, of course, an og. Let's just set up a little sequence. And basically, you have this full range here. If you need a more complex sequence to set up, then you would use our quick chant tool. This is just basically for short sequences. And we'll get into the quick chant tool and a little more detail about this one in a future video. Let's move on to the polysustains, the fast full choir polysustains. And this now includes legato functionality. So let's get into that. You have two layers to work with, the low layer and the high layer. And this just basically allows you to crossfade independently between them. So you can have one chant set up on one key switch and another on another, and basically crossfade between two independent Latin words. And then you have these different controls that allow you to blend between them, control the attack, and jump forward into the phrase if you want using the offset knob. And then let's get into a little more depth here. And most of the controls are fairly consistent from one program to the next. Some of them have slightly different functions in different instruments, but mostly if you learn how to use it for one instrument, it'll be consistent with all of them. And even though you're only able to play one voice at a time when it's in its legato mode, that's basically monophonic legato, it's still a very powerful tool because it's keeping track of where you are in a phrase at any given time. So as you're changing notes, it's just picking it up where you left off. Even when you arrive at the sustaining vowel looping phase of the slow polyphonetic sustains, and here are the female slow polyphonetic sustains with legato. And you'll notice when you release the note, it plays the release trigger sample, which in the case of crucifixus is the S consonant sound. Moving on to the male slow polyphonetic sustains. You can set the layer by using either the key switches, which you can define to whatever range you like, or you can use the knob. They both work. And that was a crossfade between two different chants. And you can perform those crossfades between any two chant layers at any time you like, even while you're playing with legato. And you can also change each layer by using the key switches or knob at any time, as long as you're not in the middle playing that layer. The soloists work in essentially exactly the same way, although they don't have loops and they're not essentially bound to any BPM. So it takes a little bit of getting used to learn how to perform with these, because we wanted to capture the essence and feeling that the singer wanted to bring to the table without necessarily trying to overly constrain them. So once again, we begin by defining the chant layer with a key switch. And that was a blend between two different phrases. So that's really just scratching the surface of what all the new controls and features in Requiem Pro can do. We'll be covering more of those in greater detail in the near future in some more videos. So for now, I want to say thanks on behalf of all of us here at Tonehammer, Trolls, myself, Greg, and Chris. So later days.